to conduct family meetings that are going to inspire your entire family to greatness. And we brought to you some true professionals with us this evening. You've seen her before. You've been in her presence before. She has adorned you with her beauty, and she has enriched you with her knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, and for those boys and girls that might be on, please, please put your hands together for our very own Dr. Torri Griffin. Yeah.
I have got to say hello, 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 everyone. And thank you, Gwen, for that beautiful introduction. I appreciate you and Hank so much for allowing me to come back for another opportunity to share with the Stewart Foundation. So let me click a button and share my screen with you so that we can begin our session tonight on Family Shine. Now, that might be a new topic. Let me make sure I'm clicking everything right. Give me 1 second. Here we go. I'm now the presenter. There it is. Family Shine. Family meetings that help make every member shine. And this presentation tonight is designed specifically for the parents. It's also suitable for anyone who's ever been in a family. How about that? That makes this perfect for everyone who's here tonight. And our conversation tonight is going to be part story, where you learn something about something that happened and is still happening, but we also want to make this instructional so that you can participate, you can duplicate, and you can enjoy the benefits of what we call Family Shine. Everybody say Family Shine.
Family Shine.
There we go. There we go. I love that. I love that. So again, I'm Dr. Torri Love Griffin, love and relationships coach here with the Stewart Foundation. I will go ahead and share a little bit about myself. Again, I'm a marriage and family therapist as well. And I'm the author of my little book of wisdom, 52 Lessons I've Learned from Living Life. I am the creator of the License to Date relationship training programs for teens, college students, and adults. And I'm the CEO of Love Living Life Today Coaching and Counseling Services. But what's most important about our conversation tonight is that I am the co-parent of two beautiful and wonderful emerging adults. And our conversation is about a type of family meeting called Family Shine that is designed to create a space for every member in the family, regardless of their age, to have an opportunity to find out more about who they are, find out more about how they are, and give them an opportunity to shine. So let's talk just a little bit about the context of the day. We have all been in a space and time that has never before occurred in our lifetimes. We have never before been quarantined to our homes. We've never before been charged to resist going where we want and doing what we want. But we have certainly spent a lot of time in the house with our families. Can I get an amen? There's an amen. There's another amen. I hear your amens.
I can't hear her.
While we're here having all of this family time together, the idea of offering you something you can do with your family to make sure everyone's enjoying their time and learning more about each other and getting better was brought up. So here we are today doing this conversation. So I want to clarify two things and separate them by definition. Family Shine is a type of family meeting, and we encourage you while you're at home with the whole family to have a couple of family meetings. Now, family meetings are regularly scheduled meetings designed to address the, let me clear my screen. My screen is so crowded. Regularly scheduled meetings designed to address the business of being a family. And each member participates and contributes to decision-making that affects the home. And some of the topics might be transportation to school, who's gonna pick who up, what time are we gonna have dinner, what are we having for dinner, who's writing your own family mission statement, when are vacations. So I'm sure all of you do family meetings. So that's not what this conversation is about. We could do another conversation about family meetings, but you already know that it's essential to have a meeting once a month at least sometimes once a week for certain families.
What are you trying to call it? I was trying to move up.
Certain people already have these family meetings set up. So yes, that's awesome. But what we're talking about tonight is a little bit different. And Family Shine is something that we started about 9 years ago in our family. And if you can see on the screen, it shares with you the Family Shine. Anthony, could you read that for me, please?
Sure. Family Shine, family meetings that are designed to make every family member shine. This is a casual but structured scheduled meeting time for families to connect and reflect on current events, social issues, and information pertinent to the family's growth and development. All of this is aimed at bringing out the best in each family member, allowing them to shine.
Okay, so what you've heard is the voice of Anthony Griffin, who I will introduce in just a moment. Thank you, Anthony, I appreciate that. So we're differentiating again between family meetings, which everybody probably already has going on. High five to you if you already do that. But Family Shine is only a family meeting because it involves family and it is a meeting, but it isn't painful at all. Well, maybe it would be if you've never done it before. So let's talk about it in a little more detail. Going to the next slide. It's not moving. All right, let's see if I can make it go back to the next slide. Oh, great. Don't you just love technical difficulties when they show up? Who needs them? Okay, let's see if I can do it this way. All right, so just again, why should you have family meetings? Because they're important, they're valuable, and families need them. It's important to maintain regular involvement with your family because you should let all things be done decently and in order. However, why do you need Family Shine? Because Family Shine helps you have the most valuable, I'm sorry, my screen is kind of keeping me from reading things. Holding regular Family Shine time is one of the most valuable things you can do as a family. And why is that? Because it provides an opportunity to teach your children valuable social and life skills for good character. So if you train the child up in the way they should go, when they're old, they will not depart from it. So let's move on to my co-presenter for tonight. And I love this. Just love it. I love it. Just love it. All right, let's see here. Okay, so my screen is cooperating a little bit. So let me just talk about why we even created Family Shine. Well, I believe, and we believe, that when you have parents who both contribute to the lives of their children and share about their history and their experiences with their kids who are both parents learn about things that are in their system already that may not have come to the surface, erupted, or even blossomed just yet. So it is important, regardless of the condition of the couple, because at the time we started Family Shine, we weren't even married, but we were still co-parenting our kids and making sure that they got the things from us that they needed as they grew along. So to share the story of Family Shine, I'd like to introduce my co-presenter, my former spouse, Mr. Anthony Griffin. Anthony is the author of Best Monday Inspiration. He is a certified brain health coach with the Amen Clinics. He's a professional at the Master Trainer Services, and he again is co-parent of the same two emerging adults that I co-parent. Anthony.
All right, thank you, Torri. Thanks for bringing me into this conversation. Thanks to the Stewart Foundation for allowing me to be a part as well and share what we have tried to do in our family and share that with other families, and hopefully it will have a positive impact. So you see some of the things I've been involved with over the years. Just to explain, professional at Master Trainer Services, that's my little business umbrella that I do training and consulting out of, just to explain that. But the most important thing I want to express for me being here is that I take family very seriously. And that's why we have Family Shine. And it has gone on for just about a decade now. And the rest of these slides in our conversation will be introducing you to Family Shine at a high level, and hopefully some of you may be interested in taking a deeper dive and actually implementing Family Shine into your family dynamic. All right, so let's talk about where Shine came from. As I explained, I've been in training, a training professional for quite some time. And as a part of training, I realized that in order to train someone, you have to understand how their brain works and be able to get inside their brain and know the steps to take to help them change performance and behavior. So with that in mind and studying the brain, I came across this book called Shine as I was looking for opportunities to increase my team's performance and change behaviors in the workplace. I read this book and it looks at 5 different categories that help people shine in the workplace. But the catalyst of this book by Dr. Hallowell was him meeting a shoe shine person in an airport. And he was fascinated by this shoe shine person's his persona and his eagerness and delight that he had as a result of being fulfilled in the work that he was doing. So that was the catalyst to this book. And it's based on having conversations with people and figuring out what really makes them shine, what's inside of them, what are the things you need to tap into to help them shine. So in reading that and taking this into the workplace and using with my team at work, I saw the impact that it was having. I was getting connected to my team. I was learning more about them. It was a very positive experience with my team members and helping them get on a path to feeling like they were being fulfilled in the workplace and shining. So as I saw my team members starting to really shine in the workplace, I realized that this could probably be implemented in my home life, even though we were just a couple of years past the divorce time period. The success, the health, and the livelihood of my family was still top priority. So I still took the responsibility of doing everything that I could with the family, especially since we had preteens and trying to get a step ahead of what we would expect teen years to be consisting of, wanting to create a channel into their hearts, a channel into their minds, and a foundation for having good conversations with them. So that's where Shine came from, and I adapted it to be in the family, but then it grew beyond what I took from the book Shine. And that's what we'll talk about in the upcoming slides. So the purpose of Family Shine really has four items to discuss. The first is to keep the family members connected. Again, I was not in the household, in the physical household with my family, but I understood how important it is to keep us connected, again, especially with having preteens, young children. So the purpose of Family Shine is to keep us connected in various topics, and also to see what's going on inside the children's hearts and in their minds, what they're being exposed to outside of the household, and being able to have a channel into contributing to the influence that they have. Understanding that they were outside of the house more than they were inside of the house with school and other activities, we found ourselves, like most parents do, competing with the outside of the house influence. So Family Shine establishes a connection to where we can have influence into the children's lives, but also being connected as each of the family members. The next purpose is to provide a foundation for communication for kids as they grow. I mentioned that on the previous slide. That was just very, very important to me. I wanted to get ahead of any potential teenage drama as much as possible. And I really believe that having the Family Shine and having conversations on top of other things that we did as a family really helped to have conversations before challenges would occur. The third item is to consistently encourage each family member to understand and pursue their potential. That's just one of my biggest things in life, is to help people reach their potential and do the things that God has created them with the ability to do. So within Family Shine, all of the conversations that we would have would be based on how does this topic or how does this piece of information help you shine, or what about this information helps you avoid things that may keep you from shining as you grow. And then, of course, the most important thing with kids, you got to be able to have fun. So we were able to move it from, it was sort of dry in the beginning. As I transitioned it from the workplace, it was a little dry, but we were able to establish family fun within the context of our family's brand of humor.
Okay, so I want to add that this started again almost a decade ago. So the kids were small enough to be willing to cooperate with their parents and do things that they'd never seen done before, things that we really hadn't ever tried before, but they knew that they could trust us. But we have to admit, you've got to make sure if you try this at home that you add the tag of we're going to have some fun in the process. I think a lot of families do this or do some of the things we talk about kind of naturally, but when it is focused and scheduled and it's done in this particular format, you're able to make sure you get to the end of the conversation and don't just start it and let it kind of wander off into some other areas. So this is a space where we were able to keep the content, keep the conversation, and it started one time and we needed to finish and we did it again. And then we needed to finish and we did it again. And years passed and it began to grow. It wasn't just what it started as, it began to become a tool that we were able to use over the years to make sure that whatever was going on out there, we were able to discuss inside in a safe environment so that the kids had the freedom to share whatever they wanted and ask whatever they needed to make sure we're on the same page, at least about our expectations in the house.
Yeah, that's a good point. I did not intend for this to go on. It was supposed to be a one event, maybe a couple of events, but again, it grew. And we still do it, not as often with our kids because they're out of the house now, but we do still do it. And I do it monthly with my current family.
Go ahead.
All right. So 3 components of Family Shine. We'll get into the details, but when I looked at it and broke it down into its fundamental parts, these are really the big 3 things. So we're going to show you how we've done Family Shine, but if you take these 3 components and make this work for your family in any kind of structure, you have Family Shine. That's really what this comes down to. Positive words. We all know how important and valuable it is for our children to hear positive words spoken to them, but it's also very valuable for the children to see positive words spoken amongst all of the family members and even between the parents. So that's the first component. The second component is looking at topics that are important to your particular family, looking at them and discussing them, giving everyone an opportunity to give their opinions, their views, their feedbacks, especially with topics that are related to things outside of the household, and having structured, expected, scheduled time to talk about things. And then for the kids, especially dessert. That was the hook. That was what got them at the table for the first one, was to say, we're going to do this. And at the end of this event or this time, we will have dessert. So we made that a no excuse, no rain check part of the Family Shine, is that when we finish, we would have dessert. So those are the 3 core components of Family Shine. Now here's a sample Family Shine agenda. This is still at the high level, but we start to break it down so you can see how we're actually implementing those 3 core components. So the first thing is we get together and we connect devices. Now, I'm going to talk about the technology part a little bit, but please know you do not have to be technology dependent on doing Family Shine. For me, since I have a technology background, it was easy for me to implement it. The kids were young, they were getting into devices. All of the Apple devices were becoming popular for them. So that was a hook for them to be able to use technology rather than just sitting on the couch and having a conversation. For our kids, they enjoyed using the technology. It made it a little bit more exciting for them. So we get together, we sit down, we connect our devices to Google Docs so that we can all share what we're interacting with and keep a record of it. Then the most important beginning part is we would start with hugs and prayers, or call them shine hugs and shine prayers. So we would literally spend maybe 10 or 15 minutes, each family member hugging the other. I'd hug my son, my daughter, Torri, and we go all the way around hugging each other, full body embraces, not the little cute hugs, but full body embraces, hugging each other, speaking positive words into our ears and praying over each other. And I felt it was important, especially again, since we weren't in the household, in that physical house together. I felt it was important for the kids to see their parents who weren't married, but still speaking positive words over each other, praying for each other, and seeing that the love and compassion for all of us didn't have boundaries. So we would start with that, and then we'd compliment. During that time, we would compliment each other on things that they had done, or just parts of their personality, or just really appreciating who they are and speaking those positive words of appreciation for their person and for the things that we've seen them do over the month or so. We pray for their current person, where they are in life currently, and also praying for their future abilities, and always using the verbiage of, I pray that you shine. I look forward to you shining as an adult. I know that you're going to shine as an adult man, as a husband, as a brother, older brother, and in your job. I pray that you shine, whatever it is that you decide to do. As you play your instrument, may you shine. So that's the second part of the agenda. Then we get into the meat of it, which is the shine questions and the shine topics. The shine questions are what come from the book Shine. It's an inventory of 20 very basic questions, but if you dialogue the questions correctly, you really get into a person's thought process, and having the dialogue is what gets them to really open up and have above surface level conversations, or deeper conversations, into what they really like, what's driving their hearts, what's driving their motives, what are the things they are wanting to pursue, and being able to see those questions and answers from different perspectives, both saying it and hearing it from different perspectives, really helps open up dialogue and connecting within the purpose of establishing what makes you feel fulfilled. So after spending time in the shine questions, then we move to the shine topics. The shine topics, we'll see those later, but they can be any topic. It can be health, it can be finance, it can be social media, it can be safety, it can be driving, it can be food related, exercise related, any topics that you as family leaders want to present to your children or to the family. You can put them in there as shine topics and look for content to drive conversation around those topics. So that's the important part, is that we're not just sitting down and saying, hey, let's talk about health. We're pulling in content that has more information than what we may normally know on a daily basis, and letting that topic, visual topic for the most part, visual content for the most part, videos and articles that take the attention away from us as parents to the content and the topic, so that we're just leading the discussion rather than another parent to child conversation. It's a family conversation looking at content. Then, of course, the kicker at the end is the family fun activity. We always did dessert. That was just a thing that we settled on, was to do dessert. It's easy, it's quick. Even now in quarantine, Brewster's is open, and we would go stand 6 feet apart in the line and get dessert. at Brewster's, even during the quarantine. So it doesn't have to be dessert. If it's something that you know your family will rally around and look forward to participating in as sort of a reward for doing the family shine, you can pick that as long as you make sure that there are no excuses for not having it.
Awesome. I want to go back to number one about the connected devices. Again, it isn't required that you do it this way, but we're sharing the way we did it, which actually drew everyone's attention to the same screen. So we would connect a laptop to a large screen, any TV, something everyone can see. We would be seated around in the room in front of the TV, and we would all log on to using Wi-Fi, and hopefully everybody's got that now that we're all stuck inside and using it to learn and to work. But we would all log on to Google Docs, and that way you can see everyone's cursor. So as we would begin, the videos that we would play would be, we first started out with videos. We're going to get into that also as well, but we would start with one person using the computer to play the videos. So we're watching the television, we're looking at the TV, and we're watching the videos that have come from Facebook or from YouTube or from wherever we found the material. And it does take some pre-work to function. It takes the adults, the parents deciding, what are we going to talk about? Why do we want to talk about this? What is the benefit of talking about this right now? What's going on in the news? What situations are occurring that we want our kids to have conversation around with us involved? We're not going to say, here's what we want to do, but we also say, here's what we would want you to do too. But when everyone's looking at the same screen, we're in charge of what content is being played. And I'm telling you, this can be so much fun. I just want you to know it is fun, but we're trying to get to the brass tacks of how it works. So by the time we got to our shine questions and we got to answering them, which we'll show you an actual screenshot from one of our early shines, but everyone gets to see what everyone is writing. And then we also have the opportunity to write comments for each other, to each other on the same screen. Now, I do recall the very first one we did, the kids were in the chat box chatting. Why do we have to do this? This is taking too long. And it's okay if that happens. But by and large, we got into a routine where everybody was completely content, looking forward to shine. When's our next shine? We can't wait to shine, because it really allowed the kids to begin to shine. And it isn't just for kids, parents too. It's about each person in the family finding their best, accessing their best, and becoming their best. So let's look at a little deeper, this is again a deeper dive. I wish we had time to actually do a family shine, but for now, here's another sample of how it looks.
Okay, so going in a little deeper, a little more detail. This is a snapshot from an actual family shine. The previous screen was more of a template, but this is pulling from family shine that we have actually done in the past. So shining with words and prayer, we do the hugs and the prayers, appreciations and compliments. So to kind of get it started, I usually try to start off with something that's either funny or just very, very interesting, or makes you go wow, or inspires you or something like that. So we started this one off with a video, which was an African children's choir. And it was an amazing video. It was probably maybe 100 African children singing in a church choir, and full band with drums and instruments and things like that. And just hearing them sing in their I believe it was a song that we were familiar with, but it was from an African dialogue or accent. It was just very, very inspiring to see that happening on the other side of the planet, a different version of something that we were familiar with. So we started off with that, and then we watched a couple of funny videos. And there's, I'm not sure, Torri, if you're going to actually show this one or not, but just some things that were in line with our family's style of humor. Some of the times I may have brought stuff that was more particular to my humor, and the family didn't find it all that funny. But generally speaking, I'm sure we all have some good memories of funny videos that we watched during the family shine. So it's really just to kind of warm it up. before we get to some of the serious ones. And because our family shine would sometimes last for hours, 4, 5, and 6 hours, I would make sure that I had enough funny and inspirational content to kind of break up the more serious topics. So after watching a few funny videos, in this particular shine, we had a household discussion topic, and we were talking about the water bill. It was continuously higher than it should have been, and there were different reasons. There were some mechanical problems happening one time, but then of course we had a larger house. We had kids who did not understand what it meant to have a high water bill for the most part, and why having a water bill too high was an issue. So we really had a good, I guess, an hours-long discussion and giving everyone an opportunity to talk about what it meant to have a water bill, and a water bill that's too high. And we learned that our preteen children really didn't have the same perspective that we had. And it's one thing to say from an adult mind, turn the water off because the water is going to be too expensive, or the water bill will be too high. And it makes sense to us, but we found out that from a child's perspective or a preteen's perspective, it didn't translate the way you would think it would translate from an adult to adult. All things don't translate that way to someone who's not an adult. But in having that conversation and really taking time to hear their thought process, we were able to explain things a little better, understand where they were coming from in their thought process, and actually come to an agreement of how to approach managing water in the house, which we had attempted to do previously, but it just didn't turn out because it was adults talking to children, expecting children to hear the adult thoughts and language, and that wasn't happening. So this is a highlight because it was a good hours-long discussion, and it came out in a way that we weren't getting the results before. So that was one discussion, and then
Okay, wait. Okay, I cannot contain myself here because I literally remember this conversation, and we kind of like water as a people. We like swimming, we like pools, so we're used to having lots of freedom around water. And when you're the parent and you just give kids instructions and you just say, don't do this because I said so, they kind of nod. And when they have private space and time, they do kind of what they want because they don't know, you can tell that they're not doing it, right? So by the time we got to the nitty gritty of what it means to run the water, turn it on and go somewhere else and do something else and then come back, and how much of that water was gone, it really gave us a chance to explain it in a way that they understood. And then we understood what they were doing with the water, and they understood what we meant. And, it was actually a fun conversation. Again, I'm standing here laughing because it was so funny to hear what their 13 and 11-year-old selves thought about water and thought it was coming from, I don't know, the sky. But we really were able to see a difference in the water bill because we were all on the same page, and there wasn't any more stress around do what I want you to do. That wasn't required. It was we have an understanding now, and we're all a part of the household to make the household work better together. So it was, who would think you would need to have that kind of discussion with your kids, but they have kid thinking. Sometimes it's relatively magical. And when adults and kids talk together and talk about it in different ways, sometimes they get different results. So that's one of the financial benefits that we had from starting Family Shine, because it allowed us to discuss things in a way that got cooperation from everybody. So that was, I'm sorry if I'm standing here laughing, but that was a real funny conversation. So carry on. Thank you. Carry on.
Yeah, and since we're on that topic, another one of the highlight serious topics for me in all of the years we've done it was the day I pulled up all 3 of my credit reports and walked through every line of all 3 credit reports for them to see, and for me to have an opportunity to explain to them from I guess I was around 42, 43. So I was able to show them 20 years of the good, bad, and ugly of my credit history, because we all know how important credit is. And I don't know how many of you got got oriented to credit as young people, or if you had to learn it at the School of Hard Knocks. But that was one thing that was very important to me, to make sure that I gave them the knowledge that I had, good, bad, and ugly. So in having a 3 or 4 hour conversation, going through every line item on every credit report and giving them a chance to understand the whole thinking, and looking back on it with hindsight now and things like that. So, you know, and being able to tell them the stories, of course, we know how impactful stories are. So that is something that stood with them. They understood credit in a way that I never understood credit at their age. So that's another opportunity for Family Shine in the more serious discussion topics, is to pass on knowledge, to pass on your lessons learned to them. But it's different than me just sitting down on a couch saying, you know what, don't make these credit mistakes, versus me pulling up my actual credit reports and telling them the stories about it, and then helping them see it and experience it from that perspective.
And then again, when you have other parents in the room, and then you can kind of put things side by side and say, well, here are the results of doing it this way, and here are the results of doing it this way, and here are the things that we didn't understand when we were 20, and here are the things we did understand when we were 15, 30, whenever we started our credit journey. It really gave them the understanding that you can have more than one outcome, or you can have the who knows what's going to happen outcome, but it gave them a chance to say, here's what I think I'm going to do with my credit when I have a chance to make some credit choices. Maybe I don't want to buy that, or I will buy that, or maybe I don't want to do that before I do this if I ultimately want to buy a house. So we have a chance as parents to pour into our children in a safe environment where we're not making them feel uncomfortable, and we're not uncomfortable, and we're able to say, ask any questions that you want. Ask me why I did that. Ask me how that happened. So for our kids to be able to say that to us and say, well, tell me what happened here, and how did you get out of that situation with your finances? It gave them a better a starting point, because I know my mom never showed me her credit history back when I was a kid. So that was, again, one of my highlights as well, because we got a chance to talk about something super important. Money is super important.
Yeah, okay. You're going to talk about the empty pickle jar?
The empty pickle jar activity is one where you can, if you all have a chance to go back to this video or just Google it, the empty pickle jar is another great fun family activity that you can do to help people with their priorities. And it allows you to put different things in different order in the jar. And it allows you to focus on what's important, like school and work and family, versus friends, which might be a smaller pebble than the larger golf ball. And it's a fun activity while you're working toward things like your family mission statement, because we made sure we had a family mission and it was clear. What's our mission? We are the Griffin family. We love each other. We care for each other. We are loving and caring, giving and sharing. The kids learn that young. You ask them now, they should still remember, but your family has to have a mission, or at least it can, and it helps people align. So if they're not doing what we do as the Smiths, then each child is able to know what I need to do is align with what I am. I'm a Smith, and we Smiths do it this way. And it helps build some of that camaraderie in the family, and it helps the kids know that they're just as much a part of the family as everyone else, because we created this together ourselves. So we had fun activities that we would do, as well as some of the more difficult, tougher, stronger conversations. But that's one of the fun activities that I wanted to make sure everybody knew that they could play or participate in as well.
Okay. The next item, using Google Docs to answer Family Shine questions. So we actually do this part earlier, not necessarily all the time, but we usually would do this part first because it would take the longest. So we'll look at details of the family questions in an upcoming slide, but we use Google Docs because I wanted everyone to be able to collaborate as we were asking the questions. But the most important thing is that I wanted them to be recorded in a way where the kids could come back years later and look at their answers and see how their answers either changed or remain the same, as a point of reflection, to see how they're growing, see how they're developing, see how their desires and what fulfills them changes over time. So that's why we use Google Docs. So we have that now, and the kids are able to go back 8 and 9 years ago and see their answers and reflect on them. And then family fun activity, dessert. Okay, so these are the first 2 of the 20 questions from the book Shine. And they are common questions, but if you are able to dig deeper in these questions, for us, it helped us have more insight, more clarity into what the kids thought, which is seemed to consistently be more than just asking this question on the cuff in a car seat or something, or in the car driving, you might get an answer. But maybe it's because they were writing them down and then reflecting on them and then having conversation around them is why it seemed to produce more intimacy and more connection and more revelation in the dialogue that we were having around these questions. So the first question is, what are you best at doing? And in the book, it suggests that you ought to do most what you do best. Not an absolute, but it's a suggestion. And it's amazing how many people spend years trying to get good at what they're bad at instead of getting better at what they're good at. And then the second question is, what do you like to do most? And just good conversation, because sometimes people automatically answer these questions and thinking that these 2 are the same, and they are not always the same. And it may change over time. So what do you like to do the most? It's not always the same as number 1. Unless it's illegal or bad for you, you ought to preserve sizable chunks of time for what you like to do the most. If the activity is also productive and useful, perhaps consider it as a career. So those are 2 questions from the book. And I believe on the next slide, we have an example of our first question answer. So this is from our very first sit down Family Shine meeting in 2011. We pulled our computers out. It was the first one. I think it took us probably a half an hour, 45 minutes just to get everything set up, getting everybody's computers connected and learning how to work the Google Docs and everything. So what are you best at doing? You see all 4 of our responses there. And as we answer, we would type in our answers, and after everyone is finished typing their answers, each person will go around and read their answer, and we get to talk about it. Now, this is something we get into deeper in a part 2 of this. This is all introduction, but in the part 2, we would talk more about how to manage the conversation around these questions, because if you don't do it right, you could just answer the question. Someone may give their question and then you just move on, and that's not what the intent is. The intent is for people to dive in deeper in these conversations. And what we would also do is have the other members of the family respond to the questions as well. So for example, Jael's answer, she says, I am best at, and she says baking, swimming, planning events, photography, because it's just natural. And then Torri commented, I always say you've got that evil eye. So it's very valuable with these questions that are geared towards making you shine, is to hear your other family members' perspectives about what you are good at, or supporting what you say you're good at or what you like. So we probably spent at least 10 or 15 minutes, probably more, on just this one question alone, because as we would learn things about each other, or learn about our deeper thoughts about it that each person has about him or herself, if you're able to ask the right questions to dive deeper and help the person reflect on their answers more, everybody gets to learn about a lot. And it's a fulfilling experience to hear your family members acknowledge you and respond to you and support what you're pursuing positively.
Yes, I want to agree with that. And I think that's one of the joys of having this screen and the technology. If you don't happen to have Google Docs, you don't have Wi-Fi, you can certainly grab a poster board and stick it on the wall and let everybody have a different color marker, and they go and write their answer on the board. If you have a dry erase board, or if you just have a piece of paper and you pass it around, there's so many ways to be creative to get to the point. And the point is collective answering and honest answering and good feedback. And I really liked the way these began. And we went through more questions in this first one, but for instance, in Jair's answer, he says, I'm best at playing tennis and my cello, and I'm also good at math. That's why I'm going to buy an electric cello. And then Anthony went in and said 10,000 hours is equal to 417 24-hour days, or 1,251 8-hour days value added to kids in the now and at home. So that was where Jair was practicing his cello. So to know that at 11 years old, this was his priority, and he's still able to understand from a lot of our Family Shine videos that it takes 10,000 hours to become great at the same thing. If you do that same thing 10,000 hours worth, that's a way to develop your skill set. So planted in the children, even in that time, was if I'm going to be good at something, I'm going to have to do this a lot, and I'm going to have to do it all the time. Or how many days? It's listed right here. How many hours? It's listed right here as well. So it was good to have it written down somewhere, so when the kids come back and look, they're able to see, I started this a long time ago, and look at where I am now. Or I've been at it for that long. I might be logging some hours. This is pretty cool. But they also get to see their parents who know each other comment on these same answers. So I said that I'm best at seeing things from a different perspective when a problem or a situation or difficulty is present. I'm also good at reframing the situation to see it from a more positive, optimistic light and talking it. Oh, and then Anthony added, and you're good at talking to anybody about anything. And then Jair added, and talking in front of audiences. So what that did for me was give me a chance to hear my family applaud or support what I love to do and honor what I do and who I think I am. And they were like, yeah, that's what you do. Yeah, we know that's you. That's what you do. So for Anthony, do you want to go through that one?
Sure. So I put in my best at taking information from different places and sources together. So productive is better with better understanding. So it's really just kind of connecting dots and using that collection of dots to improve things. And then Torri added creativity and artistic creations with graphics and poems.
And I think, go ahead.
That's that doing.
You're breaking up. What'd you say?
So what your comment was, what you also felt that I was best at doing.
Mm-hmm. And that's another good thing about an opportunity for family members to give each other that encouragement. Sometimes a person doesn't know what they're good at, but others in the family can say, oh yeah, you're really good at that. That's why we ask you to do it all the time, because you're the best at it. None of us can even touch you the way you do it. And that can be new information for kids or for family members. So it's a really good space because we've already created a safety. It's a safe space. And families need safe spaces to have good conversation, difficult conversation. It's really important to carve out time to have certain type of conversation. And if you make it regular and commonplace, then people begin to practice it. And that's important because you can't just be all fun and you can't just be all stiff and starchy or critical. It's important to have some balance and some ways to get at what you need to get at for your family. So that's, yes, that is that one.
Yeah, and just to reiterate an earlier comment Torri said about this slide is that, yes, we did Google Docs, we did all this stuff, this technical stuff, and now that we've gotten into the deeper levels of this, it may start to look like it's complicated or there's a lot going on. I just want to make sure that you hear very clearly that you do not have to do it at this, you don't have to use these tools, you don't have to do it particularly this way that we've done it. Those three components that we showed earlier, positive words, discussion topics, and dessert. If you focus on those three, that's a great starting point, especially If no one in your family is really a technology a savvy person, that's fine. Don't write it off and say, well, we don't do computers, we don't connect to devices and all that kind of stuff. We can't do this. That's not true. You can just sit down and have a conversation. Journaling is always good. I know Torri is a strong advocate for that. So if everybody got journals and you wrote after your family shine what stood out the most to you, that's more than enough. So the main point is that you're finding a continual way to connect at a deeper level and protecting that time.
So I wanted to give the youth, the emerging adults in our lives, an opportunity to share something about Family Shine with you. And I believe one is on the line. Can I get a Jair Griffin? If you could unmute your mic, we'd like to hear if you have a Family Shine memory you would like to share. Is Jair there? Okay, well, he signed on, so he may be listening. There he is. Hey, Jair.
Hi.
This is Jair Griffin, our emerging adult of 19 years, soon to be 20, and he is one of the only youth I know who's ever done Family Shine. Next to his sister. Go ahead.
So this is one memory?
Yes. Well, whatever you want to say about Family Shine and your experience with it.
I've thoroughly enjoyed like every Family Shine that there's been, and like it's great to like be able to spend time with your family and like laugh and then also talk about like serious things and learn about each other, because like I've learned a lot about myself and all of my family members through Family Shine. And like I definitely plan to like continue this with my family so that my family can shine too.
Thank you, Jair. And I have a quote on the screen for those who can read, but since it's so small, I'll read you what Jael Griffin, our 21-year-old, has to say about Family Shine. She says, Family Shine is a very productive way to bring the whole family together outside of its main point, which is to encourage your family members to shine. There are other added benefits. Family Shine is very versatile and can be used as a way to cover and talk about absolutely anything you feel needs to be discussed without it feeling like a business meeting. Over the years, my family has also used Family Shine as a teaching opportunity for my brother and me to learn and appreciate important things about the world and life itself that we wouldn't know about otherwise. Of course, to get kids involved, there always has to be a fun, rewarding aspect. So in addition to the hilarious videos we'd watch, our family always went out for dessert afterwards. That might have been my favorite part. Family Shine doesn't have a strict format that has to be upheld in order for it to work. Every family is different, and Family Shine can be used in whatever way to allow you and your family to shine. Thank you, Jaela.
That's great. This is my first time seeing that. That's great.
Yeah. So we have at least 4 votes for Family Shine here, and that's why we wanted to make sure we came to you to give you an opportunity to hear some other way to get better family cohesiveness. And that's, thank you, Jair. I really appreciate you showing up. And Jael's out there, but she's muted, but we have heard from her very well. So let's talk about some shine topics.
So this is an example of topics that we've covered. The first Family Shine that we did was just the 20 shine questions, but then those questions prompted other conversations. So as we continue to do it, I would come across content or come across topics, and I would say, man, this would be great to talk about during our next Family Shine. So after a while, as I continued to gather content, I started to put the content into specific categories. So these are the categories that we ended up coming up with. Praise Shine is where we actually look at other people who are doing something related to praising God, whether it's a choir or something that example to us, people who are actually shining in their praise to God. And it doesn't mean that was like in a church environment, but some kind of way their life or something they were doing was praising God. Funny, humorous shines, inspirational shines, talent, healthy shine, meaning talking about health, whether it's physical health, emotional health, mental health. Relationship shines, for example, we've done multiple assessments in the area of relationship. We've done the 5 love languages. We've done personality assessments. We've done
Archetypes.com. Archetypes, we did that one too.
Archetypes. We've done Myers-Briggs. We've done at least a half dozen different personality and relationship assessments to help us understand who we are in the context of relationships with ourselves and with our family and with other people outside the family. Finance, we've covered, like I said, credit, we've covered student loans, we've covered debt, we've covered stocks, we've covered investments, real estate, all of the major categories in finance, we've at least had one conversation about. Not just a conversation, always some kind of solid, credible information that we're pulling into our environment to look at, read, and discuss, either reading an article or watching a video. Current events, knowing what's happening, good and bad around in our world, locally and globally. Miscellaneous shine could be anything that just comes up that doesn't fit into one of the other categories. Personal development is things like personal time management, prioritization, defining your own personal goals, things like that. Just wow, there's a lot of content out there. Sometimes things come across that you just never imagined. All you can do is say wow and share that. Safety and awareness, things like personal safety, safety in your home, safety driving, anything that's safety related, being aware of your environment. And we put that in that category. And then food shine. It could be exotic food, food that's related to health, foods that's related to keeping you from shining because it's not healthy, anything that's related to food, especially since the kids were, I think they labeled themselves foodies. So food was definitely an interesting topic.
One of our family shines was about cops and how to respond and react. Yes. When you are ever stopped, male or female, old or young, driving while black. We had the conversation and we brought up some really powerful videos from some lawyers. And it was a really great conversation because we were able to share our own police stories and they weren't all bad. And that was a really nice balance we were able to provide for them so that they understood there's a way to act because you're in charge of yourself, but you never know what you're going to get. And you can get something really great, or you can get something that requires you to practice your discipline. But we put the conversation out and we had a really great opportunity to talk and about the differences between male and being male and female and being out on the street driving. So that was another one I wanted to mention in there.
Yeah, that's a good one because that video was about 45 minutes. It was from a lawyer, very visual, good explanations. We had a lot of conversation about that. And I would like to think that really contributed to an experience that Jair, our son you just saw, had with the police. He was riding with someone else, and there was an obvious difference in who was prepared for that difference. Our Jair had to make sure he talked the other person he was with out of his frenzy and with that police officer. And I would like to think that it was partly due to the conversations we had about that topic in Family Shine.
Yes, Jair, if you're still there and if you want to add anything, feel free if there was a topic you wanted to highlight before we finish. If not, that's okay. Okay, so we know we're going to have to bring it to a close, but we wanted to first see if you had any questions, if you want to open up your mics and give us any comments. We want to first of all say thank you to the Stewart Foundation, Gwen, Hank, the whole team of volunteers. You guys do amazing work on a regular basis, and to have this opportunity during the social distancing challenge where people have no opportunity to get out, but they can still learn, they can still share space and time. We really appreciate you all giving us this chance to talk about something that we do naturally. We would like more people to do this naturally. So we do have a homework assignment for you. Anthony, you want to give them the homework, and then we'll take some questions.
Sure. So 3 things. Again, this was an introduction, and we are prepared to take anyone to a deeper level who would like to actually look at implementing this. So to do that, we are asking you to do some homework and then let us know if that's something you want to do. So the first thing is to, of course, discuss with your family each person's thoughts about doing your own family shine. So you'd sit down, have a conversation, share with your family what you've learned, what you've seen here, hear their thoughts about it, and see what they would like to say, or see what they say. And then after having that discussion is to prepare them for it. And then the next step is to actually schedule and conduct your first family shine. Now, it's not a full family shine. All we're asking you to do is answer those first 2 questions. What are you good at? What do you think you're best at? And we'll make those 2 questions available. If you just sit down, prepare them, and then later on have us sit down and have everyone answer those questions, you don't have to try to record it or anything. It's just kind of getting them, sticking their toe in the water to see how it works and see what kind of experience your family has. And then if you do that, then we'll return who was ever interested. You'll let, I guess, Torri or someone from the Stewart Foundation know that you would like to participate in a deeper dive in implementing this for your family. And then we'll go through a part 2. We'll discuss your experience, and then we'll set up a more practical experience for you to have for implementing this in your family.
Yes, that sounds like a plan. Did we have any questions? Anybody have a question?
I saw half of a comment flash on the screen. It said, sounds like our family's Sunday something, and then it went away.
Oh, so someone must do this. Awesome. That is great.
It said, wow, reminds me of my family Sunday after dinner talk read sessions. This was in the 60s while we were in Germany.
Wow.
Awesome. Awesome. There are so many ways you can do it. You really have to tailor it to fit your family and fit whatever time you have. And in our case, we would schedule them so far out that it often would be, we'd make sure we did it quarterly. We wanted to do it monthly. It just depends on your schedule, because if you have a lot of moving parts, you want to make sure you make it a requirement that we do it and that it fits in everyone's schedule. And I wanted to add something else about the Google Doc. I'll get back to that. Did we have any questions or comments from anybody? Yes.
You do have a question, Torri, you all do, and Mr. Brilliant, with someone asked about getting the presentation. Someone made a comment that they would love it if their family could do it. They have an ex-husband, however, he did not hear this presentation and wanted an opportunity to share it with him so she could get him aboard, as well as her daughter. I do see Brittany and Tyler actually made a comment and of which they thought this session was very beneficial.
Awesome. Awesome. That is, go ahead. We think it was very informative.
Yeah, very informative.
Excellent. Well, luckily, this, I believe, is being recorded. Is that true?
Misa, are you there? Did we?
It was being, yeah, it's being recorded.
Okay, great, great. And then Tanya Evans stated, great life lessons. So that's crucial. Yep, okay.
Let me jump in too. You all did an amazing, a phenomenal job. This, I mean, you know, when you're listening to the both of you all, you kind of, you know, as adults, you kind of wish you could rewind, right, and go back to some of the lessons that you all have taught us today. Being a divorced ex-husband and have a son, some of the things that you talked about, I wish I could have went back and implemented some of these programs. I was sitting there taking notes. You know, the whole credit deal was so crucial, even early on with young children. When you go to the grocery store and you're swiping your credit card or your debit card, understanding that it's not endless. There's an end to it in your account. You know, you know, it's not is not just something you can do. And a lot of kids think that, well, put it on your credit card. You got a credit card, and when you talked about the credit, I think the other thing to me, and I was taking notes, the police, those conversations, one of the things that Gwen and I and the foundation we're extremely excited about, we probably need to revisit it, but we did talk, we had a workshop on what to do when you see blue, and how to respond, how to act when you see that situation. I was looking back when you talked about the Google Doc and all the different things that you can reflect upon the answers, and so I think a lot of times our children don't always understand why we're saying what we say. You look at some of your children now, our kids who are grown now, and when you talked about your son being stopped by the police, how you prepared him to be ready for that situation. Same thing, decisions that you might have made at 7 are different than you would have made at 17. And when you recorded and it was on Google Doc, and to be able to go back and look at that was so crucial. So I mean, this, Gwen, I don't know, y'all keep hitting it out the park. I don't know how these workshops keep getting better and like the old folks say, gooder and gooder. but they're getting gooder and gooder every single time, because this work, and we probably need to revisit this again. And you almost need to do the exact same workshop again for more people. But you all knocked this out the park. I mean, this was so helpful to me. And again, like I said, for me, it made me want to look back and wish I could rewind, control, alt, delete, reset, and try this all over again and do it better. So thank you for helping our parents today to do it better.
Our pleasure. Thank you for having us.
I have to concur with you, because it is so vitally important that we rejuvenate, revitalize. Let's bring our families back together. I know this epidemic has, hit so many really hard, but I do believe there's a reason for all things. And if it is to really bring our family units back together, that is imperative. And you all have created a format, a program, without it being a program, but something really exciting that the children, that I think everyone gets an opportunity to do. Thank you all for being mature. Thank you all for loving yourselves and your children so much that you could put whatever differences aside to make sure that the family, the whole, is great. That is so incredibly admirable. I plead with you all, please make sure you take this show on the road. Please share this concept with as many people as you can possibly touch. I believe that this is the difference maker. I believe that you all can really make a mark in society that cannot be erased by taking this on the road and making a difference of the core of what God created all of us to be, and that is family. Thank you so very much.
Gwen hit it on the head, and I want to say one other thing, because Gwen prompted me to think of something. When going through, being divorced, and I coined this phrase, and I used to tell Gwen this all the time, that I love my son more than I dislike my ex, versus disliking my ex more than I love my son. And you get two totally different results if that's the case. If you dislike your child, if you dislike your ex more than you love your child, then nothing. If you dislike your ex more than you love your child, then your child is not going to benefit. They're not, because everything they do, you're going to be trying to retaliate against the ex. But if you love your child more than you dislike your ex, when your ex brings, or your former, I think Gwen's correcting me on your former, when your former brings you something dealing with your child, and your child, I remember one time my son needing, tutorial classes, and it wasn't covered in the child support, right? It wasn't enough. And I remember we had to come together, and we paid for tutorial, because it wasn't about her, it was about him, is what he needed to be the best young man he could possibly be. So when you dislike your ex more than you love your child, you get a totally different result than when you love your child more than you dislike your former. And so thank you all for, like Gwen just said, for being able to blend this and show us how to operate and be better parents. It's not about, forget it. If it's over for somebody and they got somebody else, you still keep that child in the center, in the forefront. And y'all have done an amazing job. So Gwen, thank you for prompting me to remember that piece, because that was important to me to say.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That's really important to me. I established in my heart and mind that just because I was no longer a husband didn't mean that I couldn't be a good father to my family, including Torri and the kids.
And I have to agree, this isn't for the faint of heart. It takes a lot of discipline to be able to say, that's okay. It's fine. We actually have been trying to find a word to describe it because we're still related because we have kids in common, but we're always co-parents. I try to, I talk to youth all the time. You will be a co-parent for the rest of your life. What you do with the relationship is up to you. And as long as that relationship has respect and honesty and clarity, you'll be fine. But that is a standard, absolute bottom line, what you have to do now that you've decided to parent, because you have to have the other parent to help you do the job. So we've been able to, over the years, maintain that. And though some people may not understand how it's done, oh, I could never do, you could do this. Anyone could do this. We've done it. And if we can do it, you can do it. But it depends on how serious you are about co-parenting those kids, because when they don't have a place to look for information, and if they don't recognize that who they are came from these two adults over here, and what's inside of those two adults could possibly show up in their lives at some point, whether they plan it or not, it gives them an opportunity to have access without being blocked by the difference between the two adults. So it can be tough, it can be easy, it's totally up to you. But our goal is to make sure we're raising responsible young adults. And that, I think we can say we're working pretty hard on. And I like our young adults. I think they rode along pretty well, and that they're doing pretty good. And I like them. So I appreciate them for participating on the ride today too.
And you know what? And they're watching us. And I think sometimes we don't think that our kids are watching us. They might have their earbuds in, little children are sitting in the back seat, and we think that they're disconnected when we're yelling at our ex on the other phone or whatever. They're hearing that, and we're teaching them bad habits of how to have a healthy relationship. So, just always know that our kids are watching us. They pick up habits that we don't even think they pick up. I remember one time, for me, it was very comfortable for me to sit down and write poetry and answer emails in the bed. And so I would do that quite often. And my son, I saw him laying in the bed more. And so I took my computer out of my bed and put it in my office. And I wanted him to see me sitting behind the desk because I didn't know he was looking at me. He was watching me. So our children are always watching us. They're picking up on habits. They look at us, how we treat other people, not just spouses, but how we treat anybody, the least of these. They're watching us. So again, Gwen Mason and Dr. Love, thank you all for having that conversation after the first conversation that you had to get us to this one. Because Gwen called me and she was real excited. I was like, okay. She was like, and she, I got a lot of it first by saying, hearing us say, well, it's not her ex, it's her formal. So I wanted to make sure I got that because I did hear you, Gwen, former husband. But this was again one of the best workshops we've done, and so I thank you all.
Awesome. Thank you, Hank. Well, again, it's been a pleasure. I love the Stewart Foundation. We are certainly available for those parents who want to do a deeper dive. I can see us showing you some of the videos we would normally show if everyone has their own way to get on Google Docs and do their conversation and questions. I think it'd be fun to have more of this because I think the world needs to shine, and that's why we do it.
Wow, wonderful. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please put your hands together for our incredible presenters today. Our Dr. Love, who has been with us for years now, and the brilliant Anthony Griffin. We want to thank Jair for coming aboard and representing the family all too well. So thank you all so much for all that you do. We love you.
It's good to see Jair. Good to see him. It was good to see Jair. Is he still playing the cello?
He sure is.
He was killing that cello. He was killing it. Hey, Jai, tell him I need him to play behind me on a piece of poetry.
Okay.
All right.
Jael Jael's out here too somewhere, but she wasn't able to open her camera. But we appreciate you too, Sweetie Pot.
Oh, love you. Love you.
Love you guys.
Have a great night.
Thank you. Foundation. Mwah, 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 mwah.